Hey Wargamers, today I want to talk about the viability of the different Tau units in the new Kill Team rule set. I gotta say, this book has been out for about a week. I've got a handful of games in, and I'm really enjoying it. It feels distinct from mainline 40k, from Combat Patrol even, and its rules are sufficiently complicated that you can get some nuanced gameplay in, but simple enough that people that haven't played 40k or are returning to the hobby can pick it up pretty easily. So a great rule set. I can see it being a staple of the community moving forward. So if you haven't picked it up yet, you should do that. But yeah, really, I'm very happy with this. And the Tau actually have some nice gameplay mechanics in there as well. So that's really what I want to focus on today. I'm not going to talk about the specialisms because I kind of talked about that in another video that I did before the book released. Link in the description below, of course, if you want to check that out. But yeah, let's talk about the different units and go through them each one by one, to kind of talk about their strengths and weaknesses and how you might want to use them. Some general impressions of using them in my games so far. So let's start with Pathfinders. Pathfinders are kind of the unit that sets the tone for the rest of the kill team because they rely on marker lights. Marker lights are kind of the iconic Pathfinder weapon, and marker lights work different in kill team than they do in 40k. Not so much in their rule set, but in their implementation. So in kill team, marker lights have a different table than they do in main 40k. They actually drop the seeker option because there are no seeker missiles in kill team. They just don't exist. So there's no point to have that in the marker light table, meaning that there's only 4 marker lights needed to max out on that table. You still retain the marker light stratagem, although it costs 2 command points. You still have access to it. So it's not uncommon to be able to get max marker lights on a unit with a single marker light. If you get 1 marker light hit, you can spend your 2 command points to gain access to your stratagem, allowing you D3 additional marker lights. For roll a 5 or a 6, bam, you're at 4 marker lights on that target. That's maximum marker lights, meaning that you get to re-roll 1s, get your intermediate benefits, and then also get the +1 ballistic skill. So it's not super hard to do that, but you do have to plan accordingly. You have to bank your command points and everything like that, and make sure that you are using it on a high priority target. That's not so much the issue. The issue comes down to the number of other units that you have. So in main 40k, you spend 1 unit worth of marker lights. 1 unit shoots at a target. They are foregoing any other potential shooting that they could do, whether that's carbines or if you were to spend the points on a different unit that have a different gun. You're giving up those shots in order to produce marker light hits. And in main 40k, that works out fine because you have so many other bodies. In 40k, you have 30, 40, 50 other fire warriors that can make up for the opportunity cost of firing that 1 marker light. So it's not that hard to make that be an economic choice. However, in kill team, that's not the case. Depending on the situation, you might need up to 12 other fire warriors to fire at that target in order to recoup the opportunity cost of firing that 1 Pathfinder. The catch is, you can only have a maximum of 12 fire warriors in your list. So, if you're using one of those fire warriors to be a Pathfinder, it's actually impossible in that particular situation to make the marker light worth it. There are cases where you can contrive different scenarios that make it worth it, but it's not a guaranteed thing. You have to be very particular about how you use marker lights, and that makes marker lights as a whole a risky bet. They're not something that you can rely on as being a worthwhile choice. In a lot of other cases, you're going to actually be better off just taking another gun, whether that's another fire warrior or a drone or something like that. You're going to be better off using those points somewhere else than using them on a marker light. So for this reason, you're generally better off skipping marker light dedicated units. So that means Pathfinders as a whole, not really worth it. You can work marker lights into other units like stealth suits and fire warriors that have the option of firing a marker light, but also have a better gun that they can just use normally. Kind of a situational choice because marker lights are free, so you don't have to worry about it. And I think that's probably the better way to take marker lights if you're going to take them in kill team. But don't have a bunch of Pathfinders in your list dedicated to marker lights because it's just not going to work out in your favor mathematically a lot of the time. So let's move on to Pathfinder Gunners. Gunners are probably my favorite unit in the kill team rule set. Stealth suits are very good, but Pathfinder Gunners have a certain level of satisfaction associated with them. They can take rail rifles, which are beastly, strength 6, minus 4 AP, D3 damage, and then they still have the mortal wound mechanic. So they can tear through Space Marines or pretty much any kill team model really quickly. You're going to run into problems if you're going against, like a army of cultists or something like that, because it's just one shot or 2 shots if you're within rapid fire range. But overall, this is a really nice weapon. It does some work. So I like rail rifles on Pathfinder Gunners. I'm taking 3 of them in my list right now, and it's worked out really nicely. You can also take ion rifles. Ion rifles are also a good choice. So let's move on to strike teams. Strike teams, I think, are a good complement to some of the other units that we're talking about. You might want to take 1 or 2 in order to be a specialist or give some sort of support. But really, I think when it comes down to their war gear options, you're always going to want to take the pulse rifle over the pulse carbine. The reason for that is that at 30-inch range, you get your full ballistic skill at 15 inches, whereas with a 18-inch range with a carbine, you get your full ballistic skill at only 9 inches. So that makes a big difference in kill team because you're on such a constrained board. You're going to have a lot of targets within 15 inches and much fewer within 9 inches. So that's an important difference. So always go with the pulse rifle, I think. I think it's a much better choice. In addition, you have the option of taking pulse pistols. Pulse pistols are probably a better choice in kill team than they are in 40k, because in 40k, if your fire warriors get into close combat, they're done. In kill team, they actually have some chance of surviving, at least theoretically. There's more modifiers, so they might be able to stick around a little bit longer. And so pulse pistols can be valuable in that context. Something that unites all of the infantry models for the Tau kill team units is that they have the bonding knife special rule that allows them to subtract 1 from their nerve test if they're within close proximity to other bonded models. So it doesn't have to be of the same type, so fire warriors don't have to be next to fire warriors. You can have a strike team member next to a stealth suit and still benefit on your nerve test. And so having strike team members in your list is a cheap way to kind of facilitate bonding knife if you don't have other units nearby. So that's kind of a nice benefit there. But finally, strike teams have the option of taking a Shazwi instead of a Shazla. You can take one of those, and he can take a marker light. So this is a place where you can work a marker light into your list, just on the off chance that you're going to use it and hit with it and spend your command points. You have that option, but you're not dedicating a whole model to the marker light. He still can do other things. So having a Shazwi with a marker light is something that I have been toying around with and has been working out okay. But again, stay away from the dedicated marker light unit. Just take your Shazwi with a marker light, and he can use it when he wants and not use it when he doesn't want to. Breachers are a unit that I was really excited about initially, thinking about the constrained setting of kill team. I thought breachers were going to be really good. And I think they can be in the right situation, but overall they're pretty risky. That's something that's true in 40k too, is that breachers are risky. But in kill team, you're having to deal with a modified way of moving and charging that makes it extra risky. So in kill team, the way that movement works is you do your movement for one player and then you do your movement for the other player, and that movement can include charging. Charging is not a separate phase. And so if you are player 1 and you have breachers, that means that if you want to get into close range and use your best weapon profile, you're going to have to get really close to that enemy model. So the weapon profile on breachers means that you have to get close, but by doing so, if you're going first, you are automatically putting yourself in harm's way. And yes, you get the chance to overwatch or fall back or run away, but that's not as good as being able to just shoot outright. And so it's really risky if you're going first to move your breacher into close proximity of a model that could charge you. You can really only effectively use breachers if you are going second in movement phase. So this is really a place where going second much more beneficial than going first if you're bringing breachers. But additionally, you could potentially use them to some effect if you just brought like all breachers and moved them as a single blob, because you still have the supporting fire special ability, or the for the greater good special ability. So you can fire Overwatch for your buddies, and that is a way that you can use breachers to do that effectively. But really, again, it's very risky. So breachers overall, I think, just aren't as easy to use as we would think based on the way that Kill Teams works, because they put themselves at risk of charging so much more in Kill Team than they do in 40K. Stealth suits, I think, are a staple unit of the Tau Kill Team. They combine a nice amount of mobility because they still move 8 inches, they still can advance, and they still have the fly keyword, with increased durability because they have a better armor save, higher toughness, more wounds than anyone else, and they have that -1 hit modifier. So there's a lot of good things about stealth suits, and they're only 20 points. You don't have to pay for the burst cannon, so it's a pretty good deal. You can take a fusion blaster on them, and that's a great way to get some heavy hitting firepower in your list, especially if you're not bringing any Pathfinder Gunners. Bringing that fusion blaster is going to be really valuable to you. But stealth suits, I think, are going to appear in every Tau Kill Team list, at least once. They're going to make a good specialist for things that you want to make sure stay alive, like your leader. And they're also going to be good at getting to different objectives and performing in the context of the missions in pretty much every way. So I think there's not a lot to say about stealth suits just because they're just good. So go with that. Finally, let's get to drones. Drones are kind of in a weird place. They don't have all the special rules that they do in the Codex. They have a reduced set of rules. So like marker drones, for example, don't have the stable platform special rule, and gun drones don't have the threat identification special rule either. So they can fire at whatever they want, but marker drones don't get the benefit of being able to move and shoot normally. So it's complicated. It's kind of hard to deal with, but in general, I think there's very few drones that are actually valuable within the context of Kill Team. Things like shield drones are pretty much useless because they don't have their feel no pain save anymore. So why would you bother? Just don't bother with a shield drone. Instead, I think there are 3 drones that are valuable out of the set that you can take. So the first is just a gun drone. Gun drones are going to be good because they're cheap and they're able to put out a fair number of shots, and their ballistic skill can only get so much worse before it caps out at a 6. So they are a good way to get lots of shots for a close range build. Again, this is going to be a better option than Pathfinders with pulse carbines because drones have a better armor save and are a little bit cheaper. So just go with that. Additionally, all drones still have savior protocols, so they can offer support to your high priority units like your stealth suits in cases where they're getting targeted by really high power weaponry. So gun drones, a good choice. Another good choice is the recon drone, and actually I would say the recon drone is a better choice than the gun drone, but you can only take one recon drone. Recon drones have a burst cannon, so they have the same fire output as a gun drone, but they also have the ability to buff your Pathfinders, and they have multiple wounds. So you're getting basically a much better deal for a recon drone than you are a gun drone because they cost the exact same price. That's kind of crazy that a recon drone and a gun drone cost the same price, but recon drones are really good comparatively. So the only downside is that they're larger and therefore easier to spot, but they're also easier to get obstruction on. So, pick your poison there. But overall, recon drones are going to be really nice in offering supporting fire, but also being there for savior protocols and not just dying right away. You can, allocate a savior protocols to a recon drone right off the bat, and it's still at 100% effectiveness. So I really like recon drones. The third drone that you might want to take is a pulse accelerator drone. This is going to give you an additional 3 inches on your short range band, and that's going to be valuable. Anytime you can avoid a -1 to hit modifier is a good thing. However, this kind of suffers the same problem that we ran into with marker lights, is that for that cost, you could take a gun drone or a recon drone and just have that much more firepower. So really, if you look at the numbers, it's probably not worth it most of the time. But if you're just looking to have that extra 3 inches of range, go for it. So those are the drones that I would consider. So overall, what do I think of the Tau unit selection? Well, I'd stay away from breachers, stay away from strike teams for the most part, and stay away from normal Pathfinders. These guys are not particularly durable or valuable in a lot of contexts. Instead, focus on stealth suits. They can, deliver a lot of the same firepower in a more mobile and durable platform. Drones are nice as well. And then Pathfinder Gunners are going to be a nice place to get your hard-hitting shots as well. So my list right now looks something like this. I have a leader and a stealth Chasvray. I have a sniper gunner with a rail rifle. I have a demolitionist gunner with a rail rifle. I have another gunner with just a rail rifle. He's not specialist. And then I have a fire warrior Chazwi with a marker light. And I have a gun drone and a recon drone. And I think I just have one other stealth suit that's my comms guy, and that's it. So that's the list, and it's been working out pretty well for me. I really like the firepower that is delivered by the Pathfinder Gunners and the mobility that's afforded to me by having jetpack units on the table. So it works out fairly nicely, and you can do some nice pincer maneuvers and stuff like that with a fire base with your rail rifles, and then having everyone else kind of grab objectives and put pressure on different flanks. So that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if you have any questions below, or if you have differing opinions. I'd love to hear it. Thanks for watching, and of course, happy wargaming. Hey everyone, this video was made possible by my supporters over on Patreon. If you also enjoyed this video, consider joining our community over there. Special thanks to Max Harrison, NoExcusesPanda, Paul Lueders, TauOswell, Nick Steele, Jared Egeler, Brian Mann, Jake Johnson, Eric Jackson, RP, Julian Peck, Youhei Penguin, Andy M. Young, Peter Benjamin Parker, and Giovanni DiMaggio.